All right, everyone. For this week, we are going to be focusing on three major classical civilizations. The Gupta Empire in India, the Greek Empire, and the Roman Empire. Now, in particular, we're going to focus on the Golden Ages within these three empires this week. So first, we have to ask ourselves and answer the question, what is a Golden Age? And why are they important to us? Why do we need to learn about Golden Ages? So we're going to get started here. Our object for this lesson, or your goal, is to answer this question. What led to the Gupta Golden Age? And I'm reading up here. How did the Gupta Golden Age impact India, other regions, and later periods in history? We are going to contextualize or connect the Gupta Golden Age to other Golden Ages. And we're also going to be able to explain the impact of the Gupta Golden Age on India, other regions, and later periods in history. So to answer our first major question, what is a Golden Age and why is understanding what Golden Ages are, why is it important? Historians refer to certain time periods of some civilizations as Golden Ages. Golden Ages are periods of great wealth, prosperity, stability, and cultural and scientific achievement. So if I were to ask you, what are the characteristics of a Golden Age? You would answer wealth, prosperity, stability, cultural and scientific achievement. So we're going to look at breaking down the definition of Golden Age real quick. A period is a span of time. All right. Already in this course, we've talked about different time periods. We started the course out with ancient civilizations. Okay, that was a time period that precedes the classical era, which we're talking about now. Wealth is a large amount of money. Prosperity means success. Stability means consistency. Culture is relating to language, ideas, inventions, and art. And then scientific achievements. So down here, number 6, identify one scientific achievement that you've learned about in history class so far this year. This could be anything from the ancient civilizations of Mesopotamia, ancient Egypt, the Indus River Valley, and ancient China. And I want you to answer that question, the Ed puzzle, right now. Identify one specific achievement that you learned about in history so far this year, or this class. All right, the next part of our major question having to do with the Golden Ages is why Golden Ages are important to us, or to historians. And I do encourage you to continue to think of yourselves as historians during this course. So during Golden Ages, a lot of new ideas and innovations are produced in visual arts, architecture, literature, philosophy, and science and technology in a relatively short period of time in one geographic area. All right, so let's break that down a little bit. There's a lot there. A Golden Age has to do with a time period in one geographic area. So one specific area on a map. And during that time period, that geographic area sees innovations or changes or improvements to visual arts, architecture, literature, philosophy, science, and technology. But these new ideas and ways of doing things do not stay in one place for long. Because as we talked about last week, one key term that you need to remember and carry with you always in social studies is the term cultural diffusion. They carried to other civilizations through cultural diffusion and passed down to new generations through the process of collective learning. Golden Ages move human, intellectual, and technological life ahead by leaps and bounds. These spurts of growth in our collective ability to understand the world around us, express it through art, and invent new ways of doing things have been important in getting the human race to where it is today. Our current technology, our current culture, art, and science, our ability to think and reason for ourselves would not be a reality today if it weren't for the golden ages of the classical period. So, as we understand that, we're going to move on to the Gupta Golden Age Museum Walk. All right, now at this time, in order to do this museum walk, I want you to go to pause and go into Google Classroom, and you're going to open up, hopefully this will show, I want you to open up this Golden Ages Compare and Contrast chart. It's posted in Google Classroom. This is going to count as a test grade, but you can use your Edpuzzle and your notes on this. And when you open this up, you're going to see this chart. The top row here is labeled Gupta Empire on the left. And then you've got different boxes that are also titled. So prosperity and stability, visual arts and architecture, literature, music and philosophy, science, mathematics, and technology. And what you're going to do is, as you go through the Gupta Empire Museum Walk, you're going to fill in this information. You're going to repeat this process with the next two lessons on Greece and Rome. And using the Edpuzzles, using your notes, you can pause the Edpuzzle that you're in, fill in the chart as you go along. It will just save you a lot of time. That's a really smart way of working on things. All right, so take a moment now, open up this chart in Google Classroom. All right, so with Exhibit A of our museum, the Gupta Empire from 320 to 550 CE. So what we're looking at here is a timeline of Indian history through the classical age. Over on the left, we already know this. We are experts at the Indus River Valley because that was part of our ancient civilization. We've talked about that. Now, even though we have not talked about the Vedic period, the Maurya Empire, or the regional dynasties, we're kind of jumping ahead to the Gupta Empire because it is so significant. That's not to say that these three in the middle here are not important. The Gupta Empire, and I'm reading here, the Gupta Empire ruled parts of India from 320 to 550 CE. Chandragupta II was one of the most powerful emperors of the Gupta Empire. His rule spanned from 375 to 415 CE. Okay, that's about 45 years when the Gupta Empire was at its height, often referred to as the Golden Age of India. So there's that term again, Golden Age, Gupta, India. He attained success by pursuing both favorable military alliances and an aggressive expansionist policy, which made possible for him to control a vast empire. In addition to military prowess, prowess means strength, intelligence, Chandragupta II elevated culture, art, mathematics, philosophy, religion, and astronomy during his reign. Elevated means that he focused on it, he brought it to more prominence, he made it a thing. People focused on it, so elevated. This is a map of the Gupta Empire and its conquests over much of the classical period. So the dark blue is conquests of Chandragupta I, and then you have Samudragupta, and then Chandragupta II is the lighter blue. So all of this, the light blue, the purple, and the dark blue, eventually by 415 CE became the Gupta Empire. All right, go back to your chart on Golden Ages and the Gupta Empire and see what you can fill in on your chart. Now, Exhibit B, Trade, Prosperity, and Wealth. Standardized money. Golden ages require a lot of wealth. For artists and scientists to devote themselves to their work, they need someone to pay them for it so they can focus on their scholarly pursuits. Usually, wealthy families or governments provide the support. The government funded many of the innovations during the Gupta dynasty. The government regulated and taxed trade and earned money from the mines and land it owned. As evidence of the Gupta's government's control and support for trade in the economy, archaeologists have unearthed many coins created by the Gupta government. The coins show that the Gupta had the technology and power to mass produce them, and the power needed to get merchants to use them. This also made it possible for the government to more easily tax business transactions. So what we want to look at here is, we know we're talking about trade, prosperity, and wealth. What supporting details can we take from these 3 paragraphs that can help us understand how the Gupta Empire had such great trade, prosperity, and wealth? And this is what you're going to want to focus on to complete your chart, your Golden Ages chart. So one thing that may be key is government funded many of the innovations or the improvements during the Gupta Empire. The government regulated and taxed trade. So therefore the government earned money from the mines and land it owned. As evidence of the government's control, archaeologists have been able to unearth coins created by the Gupta government. The coins show that there was a unified and standardized money system that could lead to trade, prosperity, and wealth. Take a moment now and, in your own words, fill in the chart on Golden Ages for Gupta. All right, here we're looking at another section on visual arts and architecture for the Gupta Empire. These are Gupta cave shrines. Most of the examples we have of Gupta sculpture and architecture were inspired by Hinduism and Buddhism. The most well-preserved and impressive of these examples are reliefs carved out of caves. There's this cave. The image below is of a sculpture carved out of a cave wall of the Hindu god Vishnu in a boar-headed incarnation. It is roughly 23 feet tall and 13 feet wide. This caves are covered in carvings and paintings that depict the lives of the Buddha. So I want you to use this information, go into your Golden Ages chart, so you can pause the Edpuzzle and fill in what you can for visual arts and architecture under Gupta Empire. All right, some information on literature. Some sources state that Chandragupta II supported literature and science in his empire directly by providing for a circle of scholars known as the 9 Gems in his court. A writer named Kalidasa stood as the greatest among them. He authored numerous pieces of literature, poems, and plays, earning him the title of the Shakespeare of India. Take a moment and see what information you can put in your Golden Ages chart about literature for Gupta Empire. Now we're going to take a look at mathematics. Scholars during the Gupta Empire made important advances in mathematics, including a close approximation of the value of pi, advances in trigonometry, the use of negative numbers, the use of decimal points. So as you learn these key terms and formulas in math, you can thank the classical period of the Gupta Empire for these math lessons. All right, science and technology. Step wall architecture, you can see a picture of that here. That looks terrifying to walk up those steps. And over here, metallurgy and the iron pillar of Delhi. Indian metalworkers were known for their expertise in ancient times. The swords used by their soldiers were admired by other armies for their strength, and the officers carried metal bows. In Delhi, there is an iron pillar from the Gupta era that stands 23 feet tall. It is over 1,500 years old, but has very little rust and wear. That's pretty incredible. All right, and that is the end of this Edpuzzle on Gupta Empire. Take a few moments, fill in your Golden Ages chart.